Hello, and welcome to Get Booked with Mary and Jennifer. I'm Mary.
I'm Jennifer.
Hey Jen, what are we talking about today?
Since school went back this week, we're talking about school books, but not boarding school books, because that'll be next week's talk.
Yeah, I wore my school hoodie. So this is my Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, which is the X-Men school, which actually is a boarding school, so I'm going to be talking about X-Men books today. I'm wearing my fly jacket. Alright, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I think I beat you this week. I'll go first.
Okay.
This one is a Jennifer Lynn Barnes book, and I absolutely love her stuff. This one is called Perfect Cover. It's part of a duology, which is called The Squad.
Are these the Heist books?
No.
Different book.
So, it's about a girl who... She's a black belt in karate. She is, she's kind of, got a little attitude on her shoulder, a little chip on her shoulder. She's the furthest thing from a cheerleader you would ever think. But in this school, the cheerleaders are not just cheerleaders, they're actually also spies. So she gets this quirky invitation, and she uncovers the hidden meeting, and she's like, well, that's really weird, but now I'm really intrigued, because why are you cheerleaders, like, A, targeting me, and B, doing it in such a mysterious way. What a perfect cover for spies than cheerleaders. So, a lot of school stuff, really fun. I love Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is great.
She has a new book out.
She does.
We're very excited about it. So my first book is Varsha Bajaj's Count Me In. So this is a dual perspective middle grade book. One perspective is Karina and the other perspective is Chris. Karina hates Chris so much. They're on the school bus, like Chris and his friends make lists for all the girls, like who has the best hair, who has the hairiest arms, guess which one Karina was on. And it was a hot day and she was wearing short sleeves and so she felt self-conscious, and I think we've all, who of us are women, have had like boys make us feel horrible for being horrible themselves. Through no fault of our own. So she really hates Chris. Chris, on the other hand, though, he's actually not a bad guy. He's the kid in the group that goes along with stuff, but doesn't feel right about it, but he doesn't say anything either. And so he starts getting tutored by Karina's grandfather, and they are, I think, they're Indian. And so through this, he becomes friends with Karina, and Karina learns that Chris actually isn't such a horrible guy. And he starts actually sticking up for people with like his friends that are kind of like the jock bullies. But one of the things that kind of comes out is something happens and there's a racist incident with her grandfather. And it really affects both of them, and her grandfather ends up in the hospital. Yeah, it's just it's a really bad, like, there's like a white supremacist guy that like comes after them. And so it's about them trying to figure out like how to work through the trauma of that, but also like how they can come together and kind of show people that we're better than that. So it's a really cool little book. I really enjoyed it. It's a very quick read too.
My next pick is one that we've talked about before, so I'm going to be really super brief. The Great Green Heist by Varian Johnson. Middle grade, really awesome. Jackson needs to stop this guy from becoming the school president, and he's very good at pulling heists and planning things, and so even though he got in trouble previously for doing that, and he has some friends that are mad at him because of that, he decides that there's no way he's going to let this guy be president and hijinks the year, and so he sets out to heist the election and maybe change the results a little bit.
Okay then. So my next book is another middle school book. It is a middle school graphic novel by Jason Platt. It's called Middle School Misadventures. One kid, one talent show, no talent. So if you have kids that like Calvin and Hobbes or Big Nate, this is an automatic read for them, or a Diary of a Wimpy Kid too. Newell is just kind of not with it. Like, he's just that nerdy kid that's trying to like figure stuff out, and he's pretty convinced that he wakes up the first day and he's like, it's Saturday, we should have pancakes. And then his dad's like, no, it's Monday, go to school, you're already late. And so of course it's like this whole thing that he's trying to run to get in. He's been late so many times, like the principal's looking for him and trying to bust him. And so he's trying to sneak into school, and his best friend's like, dude, you're gonna get caught. And he's like, no, help sneak me in. He's like, no, I'm gonna get caught with you. No, you get me in trouble all the time. My mom will kill me. Like, so there's a whole thing. And so part of the story is there's a talent show. Newell has no talent, and so he's trying to figure out what his talent is. So of course this goes horribly all of the time. And it's really good. One of the things I love about Jason Platt is that he's got a really good frenetic energy, so he draws action a lot, like, very well. So there's a lot of, like, movement and whatnot. And of course, like, Newell is not always the most, let's say...
coordinated?
No, he's not. And, like, things fall over and kids crash into each other and stuff, and so it's always, like, a really great, like, explosive read. So this is Volume 1, and Volume 2 just came out, I think, the beginning of the summer. So they're both really fun reads, especially if you're a reluctant reader. Total win right here.
Nice. My next one is also middle grade. It is based off of the graphic novels, or I should say continuation of the graphic novels, Babymouse. This is Babymouse in middle school, and she's trying to fit in, and it looks very different from the Babymouse books, but it also kind of has some of the same things, so you get, like, a lot of the art. And Babymouse has decided that she is going to join the film club, and she's going to make this amazing film, and her life is going to be amazing and awesome, and of course, it's Babymouse, so no.
Doesn't quite work out. Yeah. Okay, so my next book, this one, I guess, is now a classic. This is, Jewel Wilton's Miss Marvel. So Miss Marvel is a new teen superhero that was created for Marvel Comics about, oh my gosh, maybe almost 10 years ago now. So Kamala Khan is, Indian American, and, like, her family has, like, a really strict, like, religious household, like, and her brother, like, they go to mosque, or she's Muslim, or so she's Afghan. I'm sorry, I'm getting the ethnicity wrong, my bad. Anyway, but she is Muslim, so that's kind of a huge thing for Marvel, to have, like, a not white superhero that's also a teen. And so she is trying to get through high school, but also be a superhero, and nobody knows that she's a superhero at the same time. So, of course, except for her best friend, who works at, like, the convenience store. And so she's also trying to, like, get past this, too, with her parents, who have, like, strict rules, like, you know, she can't go out with boys, like, she can't do all these things, and they're trying to, like, you know, make sure she grows up to be a respectable woman. And she's like, no, I want her to sit in my room and write fanfic and go save the world. So it's pretty cool. Also, I love it because, like, her superhero costume is actually, it's a burqa. It's a swim burqa. Because of, like, her family's really into modesty for the women in their family. And so she's like, so she takes it and she repurposes it for her own needs. It's pretty cool. And her superpower is she does what she calls, like, embiggen. And she's not a mutant, she's an inhuman. So it's a totally different class of superheroes in the Marvel universe. So she can, like, you know, embiggen her, like, fist and, like, hit you really hard, or, like, her whole body, or she can get really small. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, it's fun. We have all of them. They're a good read. At one point, she takes selfies with Wolverine, which is great because Wolverine's very grumpy about it, and she's like, "Oh my god, I wrote so much fanfic about you," and he's like, "Great. Can we just, like, kill this monster and get on with our lives? Please stop taking selfies."
That makes total sense. Wolverine's grumpy.
He's very grumpy.
Alright, so my next one is More to the Story by Hena Khan. And this is a middle grade. It is a retelling of Little Women. Jo is in middle school. She's really, really interested in a newspaper, and so she's excited to do some writing and hoping to win some prizes for her writing. And of course that goes terribly wrong. The editor and her do not get along, and it's just a really sweet retelling. And of course there's the bad stuff, and you know, it's great.
Cool. So my next graphic novel is Melissa De La Cruz, and who's the art in this? I can't see because the new sticker's on it. The art is illustrated by Thomas Patilli. So it is Gotham High. So this is a good YA comic. Bruce Wayne has been kicked out of boarding school, and so now he has to go to Gotham High. Selena Kyle, who I think we all know as Catwoman in the comics, this is teen Selena Kyle. She is the mean girl that rules the school. And of course, like, the juvenile delinquent is the kid that will grow up to be the Joker. And so he's trying to figure out, like, how do I fit into the school? Like, I have a chip on my shoulder. I've also been through all this severe trauma, seeing my parents dead when I was a kid. And then a kidnapping happens, and so Bruce is like, I'm going to try and find the answer to this. So it's kind of the start of Batman's mystery career. So it's pretty cool. I like it. The artwork's great. It's awesome.
And Beast Boy just came out, which is also another school one, which is a sequel to the Raven one.
Yes.
So that line is really good.
Yes.
Alright, my next one is an oldie but a goodie. It's called The Year of Secret Assignments by Jaclyn Moriarty. And this is about a pen pal program between two schools. 3 girls end up with 3 boy pen pals. There's lots of secrets being shared. There's some pranks. There's maybe some not so great stuff that you don't want to tell the person you don't really know. There's some smooching. You know, all the things that I like. The cool part about this is that back in the day, this was really kind of new, where they were talking about the letters and not all just text. But as I say, this is a little bit older, but still really good.
So is it part epistolary?
Yes.
So is it letters or is it emails?
Letters.
Wow. That's so
This
old.
was, well, it was, I mean, there was email at the time.
I
It was
know,
written in
okay.
2004.
Okay.
Or published in 2004.
Cool. So my next book is a favorite of mine. This is an older one as well. It's Cody Cleplinger's The Designated Ugly Fat Friend, or The D.U.F.F. So 17-year-old Bianca Piper is considered like the D.U.F.F. of her group of friends. She does not consider herself the D.U.F.F., but the mean boy, was it Wesley? Yeah. Wesley, who's like, he's like, yeah, you're the D.U.F.F. of your group. And he's very much, he's like the jerk guy from, he's like Chuck from Gossip Girl, essentially, if you've ever watched or read Gossip Girl. Like, he's this real jerk. And so Bianca is just like, I hate you. Like, she actually slaps him and throws her drink in his face when they're out one night when she's with her friends. But something happens, and she and Wesley start kind of sneaking behind everybody's back and have, like, a little love affair. Then there's a question of, like, does Bianca actually love Wesley? Does Wesley have the capacity to love her, considering he has the emotional depth of a teaspoon? So it's pretty cool. It's really funny. And it's also, like, one of the things I love about Cody Cleplinger, it's like, Gilmore Girls has, like, that real quick wit, and Keplinger is really good with that, too. She has very smart, fast-talking, main girl characters that I absolutely adore. So this is funny, but it also pulls your heartstrings a little bit, because it's good YA. What's your next book?
My next book, I think we've talked about on here before, Dear Martin.
I just read that. It's very good.
It's so good.
I cried a lot.
Yes. It's Nick Stone. We actually do have a book club kit of this, so if you in your book club want to read it, you may check that out. So Dear Martin is a Black Lives Matter book, but the reason I picked it was because, so Justice is a very good student. He actually just got accepted to Yale. Things, of course, go terrible in his life, but he has some really good conversations in school with one of his teachers. And, like, the whole class has some really good teacher discussions, and it was just... This book is hard to read, but it's also very impressive, and you're just like, whoa. And there's also a sequel coming out, too. Cool. It drops next month, I believe.
Yes. Dear Justice?
Yes.
Yes. So my next book is That's Not What Happened, also by Cody Cleplinger. This is probably one of the best books I've read about school shootings. So this is taken from the perspective of the survivor of a school shooting. And one of the interesting things about this book is that anytime the shooter is mentioned, his name is redacted. Because this book is about the survivors of the shooting and not the shooter. So it's a really interesting way to reframe the story, because so often in the news media, when we have school shootings, the narrative is all about the shooter and not actually the people that were killed or survived the shooting. So she is best friends with the other kids that are the survivors that kind of are really tight-knit, and they are dealing with a lot of trauma. And some of the kids are already in college, some of them are doing better than others. And Sara, the main character, has a secret, and so she decides that she should tell the secret, and it does not go well for her. Because it talks, one of the cool, interesting things about this book is it talks about how when someone dies, particularly someone who dies young, if the story doesn't get out completely of what happened right away, there becomes a false narrative that gets picked up, particularly picked up by the victim's church. And it's all about a crucifix necklace that actually didn't belong to the kid that died. It belongs to another kid who is more of an outcast. And Sara knows this, and so she tries to tell the story and do the right thing, because she's been walking around with this guilt for like over a year about it. And so it's the story of like what happens to her, and also how they're all still trying to work through this trauma. And it's a really hard book to read, but it's a really good book to read. I think it's one of the best reads I've read in the past 5 years. And I don't say that lightly.
That's true. You don't. Alright, my next book is Roomies. This is about 2 girls who are going to college, and they are told that they're roommates. And so they contact each other, and one of the girls is very excited to get out of New Jersey and move to California, and the other girl thought she was getting a single. She has a lot of brothers and sisters, and she was looking forward to that privacy. And imagine her surprise when she does not get that. So it's about them kind of like learning about each other, but also finding some commonalities, sharing some secrets, and kind of like the life before college, the summer before college. It's really good.
Cool. My next book is a manga. It's called A Tropical Fish Yearns for Snow. This is volume 2, but we do have volumes 1, 2, and 3. It's just one's checked out right now. So it's a really cute school manga. Konetsu is originally from Tokyo, and she's gone to either her dad or I can't remember. I read this like 6 months ago. She goes to the small seaside town in Japan to live with her aunt, because her dad travels a lot for business, and so he was feeling really guilty and was like, you need a stable home. And so she doesn't know anybody, and she's lived in Tokyo, and now she lives in this like more rural coastal town. And so there's when she's walking, she sees this girl. She's like, oh, that girl looks really cool. I wonder who she is. And it turns out she ends up joining. You have to join a club in this Japanese high school. This is like a huge thing in Japan. Like you have we all have high school clubs, but like you have to join a club. And so she ends up joining the aquarium club, and the really cool girl that she saw is the president of the aquarium club. And they get really obsessed with this salamander that doesn't come out. Like, he's nocturnal, and so they're always trying to see it. And so like she starts like kind of like equating the salamander to this to the other girl, Koyuki. And they are trying to be friends, but they're both like awkward teenagers, and so like things get taken out of context, and it's like, oh, Koyuki's like, she doesn't really like me, she likes so-and-so from Baking Club more, and Konetsu's like, no, I like you both, I'm friends with you both. Like, it's just like really silly school drama, and I love it. And also, one of the cool things about it is like you actually get real like marine biology facts for the aquarium club, because they do little tours, and so like you see like, oh, this octopus lives in blah blah blah, and like, this salamander blah blah blah. And the back also has like little vignettes that the creator also is, so the illustrator is also the writer, and she kind of has like where she got these ideas and where she's basing the school on and stuff like that. So it's super cute, and they even go to like a fall festival. So
That sounds awesome.
yeah, I like it.
Alright, my other one is In Some Other Life by Jessica Brody. This is like a sliding doors book. So
Wait, what does that mean?
I'll explain that.
Okay.
So, Sliding Doors is a movie. Kennedy Rhodes was accepted into this prestigious Windsor Academy school. And she has a choice between whether or not to go or to stay behind in her local high school. Her crush just asked her out, and so she actually declines the private school, or the prestigious, it's private school. And fast forward 3 years, she's walking down the street, hits her head on the sidewalk, and wakes up and it discovers it's her senior year. She actually accepted this school, and she's at the top of her class, and she's super popular, and like her life is amazing, except that it's really not. So she kind of is struggling between which life was she actually in. Was she actually in the local high school with this boy and they're together, or this very prestigious school where everything on her life is on track except she's miserable?
Ooh.
Boom.
It's like that Buffy episode where like it's the question of like, is Buffy crazy? Is she actually in the insane asylum, or is she actually the Slayer? Like, which is real?
Sure.
Cool. So anyway, so my next book is Jennifer Mathieu's Moxie. We have a book club set of this book as well. It's supposed to be in production for Netflix too, so I don't know when that's going to drop. But Amy Poehler's production company picked it up, so I'm very excited for it. So this is the book about this kid, Vivian Carter, lives in a small town, Texas. Let's do this again. Vivian Carter lives in small town Texas, and she's just like tired of everything. She has like, her mom is like used to be in like a punk rock feminist band from the 90s. She was a riot girl. So that's kind of influenced Viv's upbringing because her mom's like a hardcore feminist. And she actually has like this adorable shoebox of like all her old zines, and cassette tapes from her band. It says like, the cute thing is the box has like "My Misfit Youth" is written on it. And so Viv like looks at it and she starts thinking about all of these zines were created with like these intentions of like raising awareness about like the patriarchy and feminist issues and how like women don't have it as equal as men and whatnot. And then she starts looking around her high school, and like all of the jocks get everything they want, and they sexually harass all of the girls in class, and they get away with it. And I want to say the quarterback is also like the principal's son or something like that. There's like a weird power shift right there. And so Viv gets sick of it, and she creates a zine. And so she's like, yeah, if you're sick of this, put stars and hearts on your arms, because that was the thing with riot girls. Like a lot of the zines would have stars and hearts and crescent moons, and so she starts distributing these zines in the bathroom, and nobody knows who's doing it. And so it becomes this little underground movement, and all of these girls start like rising up and doing all these different like social protests to protest the football team and really take them on and come together. And it's like a really cool book about how you can have a voice and you can stand up to the administration. You can do things that are effective change. And it's just also like super great. And we're gonna get a Netflix movie. Yay! And the author is also super nice too. And I want to say that has the zines that she makes are actually in here a little bit too. Nope, that was a different book that I talked about that did that. Never mind. So, what's your last book?
Alright, my last book is You Should See Me in a Crown. Alright, this is a debut novel. I just finished it. It was amazing! Liz Lightly is, Liz Lightly is trying to get out of her small town in Indiana. She wants to go to this prestigious college. All she needs is her scholarship to come through for her musical abilities, and it does not.
What will she do?
So, her brother has a genius, potentially, idea that Liz should run for prom queen. Because in their town, prom is the biggest thing ever, and there is a scholarship attached to the winner of the prom queen. And she's like, no. She's kind of like this wallflower who has made her high school career being a wallflower, being invisible, not kind of ever in the spotlight. And of course this puts her prime spotlight. She's just like, oh, is my future worth this? I don't know. Anyways, it's really good. There's a lot of friendship drama, there's some school drama, family stuff going on. She also is, she's a lesbian. She's not exactly out, but there's some romance. It's really cute. It's such a good book. So good.
I'm so excited to read that book. My last book is a college book. So it's the comic Giant Days, which we have all the volumes. I think the last one just came in. So it is the story of Susan, Esther, and Daisy. They start university and they become friends. Like they live on the same hall, and they're all three very different people. So Susan is like this ardent feminist that like chain smokes, and she's doing pre-med, and she hates this guy that's from her same hometown. So of course, like sparks might fly with that later because she hates him so much. Meanwhile, he's just like, what did I do? And then Esther is the drama bomb goth queen. So she's always like dressing in like all black, and like sometimes there's Victorian clothes, and she's very dramatic, and she may or may not get into relationships with people she should not be doing that with, because Esther, again, is a drama bomb. Like they have a whole comic actually about Esther, like they're like, stop! Can you just not have drama for 5 minutes? And she's just like, no. And then Daisy is kind of like the cute girl that is a little bit sheltered. And she has a little bit of a coming out story too, which is adorable. And she was raised by her grandma. Her parents aren't around anymore, and she's just adorably sweet. And so they meet, is it McGruff, who is the guy that Susan hates so much, and then Ed Ginley, who's like the nerdy best friend to him. So it's all about them just trying to figure out like university, and they're away from like their parents or their guardians for the first time, and like what is that like? So it's pretty funny. The artwork's pretty great, and then one of the things that everyone always loves about Giant Days is that the colors are always like really bright and brilliant. And I will say this takes place in the UK, so it is not like they use a lot of UK terminology, so that's pretty cool too. But it's just like a really fun little comic that I appreciate. It's also an Eisner winner. John Allison's won an Eisner for this, and I think was nominated for Bad Machinery, which we have as well. Alright, that's all I have.
Cool.
So, welcome back to school.
Yes, we hope it goes well. Good luck to everybody. Stay safe, and we will see you next week when we talk about boarding school.
Yeah, boarding school. What could go wrong?